A busy and important weekend, of course, continues for presidential candidates Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton as they gear up for Tuesday's huge primaries. With Texas and Ohio considered too close to call, Senator Clinton again appealed to voters in the Lone Star State that she, not Senator Obama, is more prepared to become commander-in-chief. Senator Obama in Ohio again criticized his rival's decision to initially support the Iraq War.
His entire campaign is based on one speech he gave at an anti-war rally in 2002. And I give him credit for making the speech, but the speech was not followed up with action.
Real change isn't voting for George Bush's war in Iraq and then telling the American people it was actually voting for more diplomacy.
Both campaigns sweep through Ohio today. And joining us this morning for his insight from the New York Daily News, political commentator Errol Lewis. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And it's good that we have you 2 days in a row. See, I think you must have been told the wrong day, but you were here as always. Good to have you. This is really, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, shaking down into the key demos and these two states that really could change the whole election.
Oh, absolutely. This is a race where the stakes are high, in part because Bill Clinton, the former president, Hillary's husband, said that she's got to win both Texas and Ohio or he doesn't think she can go forward. Some other senior advisors have said the same. Now, they've tried to back off from that in recent days, but the reality is there are 4 contests. Vermont and Rhode Island are going at the same time. Right. And if she loses those big states, it's hard to see how she can catch up just mathematically from that point forward.
It also kind of splits the party, too, if she stays in too long or he stays in too long, right?
Well, there's a lot of sentiment with the superdelegates, and we should keep in mind these superdelegates, many of them are elected officials who themselves are thinking to their own election this fall and who's going to be at the top of the ticket. Sure. They want this thing settled, so they don't want to see a big divisive fight go on at a time when they're going to be more concerned about getting their own states and congressional districts together and ready for what could be a tough fight in the fall.
We talked about it yesterday. The news cycle is so short and so brief that stories continue to go one day, and that's about it. And as we saw when the two candidates had the who picks up the phone at the White House, there was a response the next afternoon, and then it's over.
Oh, it was the same afternoon.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Friday morning, an ad comes out, and Hillary Clinton has this ad saying, you know, the phone rings at 3 in the morning. Who do you want answering it? And it's this big, sort of a strong, powerfully pitched appeal to people's concerns about national security. Within hours, the Obama campaign not only had a response, but it used many of the same images.
Sure.
And in fact, sort of starts out in a way that's so close you weren't sure whose ad it was, and then he sort of puts his own spin on it and pushes back. That's something that's extraordinary. And I checked with the Obama people, and they said they didn't have any leak. They didn't know that this was coming. They saw it. They hit the ground running. They had a response up within hours. And this pushing of the news cycle, or the breaking up of it, frankly, into half days or quarter days, they're going to be fighting for every news cycle, whether it's 3 hours or 3 days.
And the internet, too, has made it so easy for us to access anything that is in Texas or Ohio, and videotape comes in. We see what was normally just put out there for people in Ohio or Texas.
Well, yeah, and that's actually an interesting point. In the old days, you could tell one group of voters one thing, and you could sort of spin an entirely different message in a different market. Those days are over. With the 24-hour news cycle, with the YouTube generation, with the ability to take any ad and send it with the click of a mouse, and anybody can do this anywhere in the country, frankly, anywhere in the world. Right. Accountability has become much higher, and so candidates have to, whatever their message is going to be, it's going to have to be one message, it's going to have to be consistent, and they have to stick to it.
We don't want to slight the Republicans, but the race is just not as close over there. But whoever surfaces on the Democratic side will go against probably John McCain. A lot has been made about how does McCain say negative things about either a woman or a black man, and without coming across racist or sexist. Is that something that his camp is thinking about right now?
I don't know if that's going to be his main concern, but it's not so much what he says about those groups, because those demographics, especially black voters, are not necessarily going to go towards the Republican, but how to get independents who are more moderate, more centrist. Right. And the problem for McCain with Huckabee remaining in the race and with elements of the far right still criticizing McCain, by not sort of placating them, he's going to get pulled a little further to the right, and it makes it that much harder for him to get back into the center. So I don't know if it's going to be so much a question of demographics and being perceived as racist or sexist, so much as just not speaking to those centrist voters that he's going to need if he's going to have any chance at all this fall.
Real quickly, because I just heard you say, you talked about black voters. Ohio last time around went the Bush way, and they went up there and did a great job with the Reverend reverends and the preachers and said, put homosexuality and all of that on the front burner. Will blacks now come back the other way because Obama's on the ticket?
I'm not sure, and I'll have a better idea after I go out there. I'm going to be out there in a couple of days. But I'll tell you, one thing about this election is that those traditional categories of where Catholics are going to vote, or Protestants, or Jews, or blacks and whites, they've all been completely scrambled in this race, starting with Obama's stunning victory in Iowa. So one wonderful thing about this is you actually have to go out and do your job. You have to go out and report and figure out what's going on, rather than rely on the past as an indication of the future.
And I know you're going to be out doing that Tuesday. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
As always. Errol Lewis from the New York Daily News. You can read all of his columns coming up from over in Ohio. That is coming up on Tuesday. Thank you for joining us. Stay with CBS 2, WCBS-TV.com for continuing coverage of the March 4th primaries.